And we are back live. How you like that intro, Merrick?
Nice.
We are live on Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito. I'm your host, Lou Martinez, as always, having interesting conversations with interesting people. Today, long time, 2 a.m. Burrito collaborator, actor. You know him from a ton of local productions, as well as shows like The Orville, Lethal Weapon, Get Shorty, This Is Us, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and many, many, many others. The man, Merrick McCartha. How you doing today, brother?
Pretty good. Good to see you, man. Always.
Good to see you as always. And, thank you for taking the time to come talk with us. I want to talk to you about everything that's kind of going on right now from your perspective as an actor, as well as things that you can kind of share with people that are new to the industry, specifically actors, and kind of like how you took your path. And obviously we are live on both Facebook under 2 a.m. Burrito. We are live on YouTube on the 2 a.m. Burrito page. And we are also, for this stream, live on Twitch. So if you are on Twitch, just look up 2 a.m. Burrito. You can follow us there, and you can be notified with all the screens. Make sure that if you do tune in, even if you're going to be in here just for a little bit, leave a comment, leave a like on the stream. That helps us out a lot. So let's jump into it. Mr. Merrick McCartha, actor. You were born in Detroit, right?
Yes, Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit, Michigan. We're not going to say the year, but it was a while ago.
It was
a while ago. And you and I have talked before about all of this, but for the people that may not be familiar with you, this is something that I always ask actors is, was this something where you were going when you were growing up thinking that you were focused on a specific type of career, and then you just said, hey, acting is a thing? Or has acting for you been something that's always been ingrained in you, or that you kind of picked up a love for very early on?
It's something I picked up a love for very, very early on, but I don't come from a talent, entertainment, stage family at all. My family was very, Midwest, blue collar, get a job. I was in Detroit. You grew up and you get a job at the plant, you get married, you have kids, and then you take your retirement, you go to Florida or Hawaii once a year, and that's your cycle. So that was I grew up and I was going to be an engineer, which I did become. So I had no thoughts about seriously becoming an actor. I just knew that I liked it at a very young age. When I was in elementary school, I thought I was a pretty shy kid. I didn't really like to get in front of people, so I thought. And one day I was in my elementary school class. The teacher, he was basically calling kids up to basically come up with like an improv thing. I didn't know what that was at the time, but it was an improv. He's like, all right, he's a mayor, go up and act like you're making a phone call and something terrible happened. And I had no idea what I was going to do until I got up there, and I just started going with this routine of me on some weird call with a bill collector or with someone that was trying to swindle me out of money. I forget what it was, but the class was cracking up, and they all applauded when I was done. And I was like, man, I don't know where that came from. I had no idea. But from that moment on, I felt like there was something about that I was pretty good at, getting up there and entertaining.
Since Nolan movies are hot this week, it was the inception of the dream to be an actor, right?
That's right.
Leonardo DiCaprio and his team of misfits burrowed into your brain, went there, and they're like, aha, here it is.
Exactly.
Getting that first laugh, though, getting that first reaction from people, that can be intoxicating, though, right?
Yeah, it can. It can. And that was at a young age. I got a very positive response. But as I grew up, and I have friends that work in stand-up comedy, and it's different as a stand-up comic. I mean, stand-up comedy, you live and die by the laugh, and the die part comes more often than the live part,
right?
Especially early on. So it's a tough road to take.
And how long was it from that improv to when you started formally taking classes, or when did you take the next step from just saying it's in the back of your mind?
It wasn't until I got to high school. I went to Cass Tech High School in Detroit, where a lot of well-known artists come out of. Della Reese, gosh, Diana Ross, Lily Tomlin, all these people out of Cass Tech. We had 2 or 3 Miss Americas come out of Cass Tech High School. So it was, they had a drama class, and I was into taking different things. I was studying math and engineering, but as an elective, let me do something way different. I took a drama class, I took a modern dance class, and I got into this teen theater troupe in high school, where we would go around to like middle schools and some elementary schools and do skits for the kids about social awareness issues. And I thought it was cool. It was a thing where I'm actually trying to help people. Plus, I got that thing of being able to perform. And it was just a little thing. I think I didn't do it until like junior or senior year, and with some other school classmates of mine. And it's something that I did. I graduated, and I really kind of left it behind, but I knew I liked it. And my mother knew I liked it a lot. But I still took the path to go to engineering.
Nice. Enslaved by Vegetables says, great song, and that's because he wrote it, my intro music.
Okay.
And he also says, I am from Southfield. All right.
No way! Southfield, Michigan. Where, let's see, Fairlane is technically in Southfield, I think, or maybe Dearborn. But yes, I grew up in the west side of Detroit, very close to Dearborn and Southfield area myself. So. Yeah.
And was your mom that was a cop, or was your dad, or?
Both my mother and father enrolled in the police academy when I was very young. They went through the program together at the same time, and they graduated the police academy the same night. It was crazy.
Before they met each other?
No, they were married already.
Oh, they were already. Wow.
Yeah, my father, when I was born, he went to the military. Then he got a job working at Chrysler, and he was working at an auto plant for years. And then for some reason, I don't think they've ever explained to me, they both decided they were going to join the police academy to become police officers, and that's what they did. They were police officers for many years.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get away with shit, right, when you were a kid?
No. At home, no. At home, no. I think if I was out with one of my knucklehead friends and someone rolled up, I think they would recognize me as my parents' kid. So I think I probably got a little less.
Okay.
But they found out when they were like, so and so said you were over on so and so with your boys, up to shenanigans. Like, oh yeah, and I was just in trouble. So you're right. I was kind of,
You had the equivalent of the Police Benevolence Association sticker that people put on their car, right?
Outside, but at home, I got it.
When you started doing improv, because I know you did some improv, right? What was your favorite improv game?
Improv game. I think I still liked what is it? Pan left, pan right.
Which you're talking to the two people.
Yes. I think that was still my favorite, because it was just so funny how it could randomly suddenly change. And it was the other ones. It was the photo game. You freeze for a photo and someone explains what the photo is. Those are fun. But the active one I thought was the pan left, pan right. I'm not sure if that's what they call it now still.
I always used to get in trouble in improv class because I would always go for the joke. So they would have that game the gibberish game, where two people would act out a scene in gibberish and you would stand behind them and, translate what they were saying. Right. So I would always just go for right away, just to try to joke. And then my improv teacher would get mad at me and they'd be like, okay, well, this is when I was trying to be an actor in New York. And they're like, you could get jobs doing that, but then the entire scene is the other people in the cast setting you up. And it's not conducive to improv classes. But I was like, well, I'm here to try to get a job. But that used to be my favorite gibberish, because no matter what they said, and I'd just be like, hey, take a look at my rat. And then everybody would just crack up, and then it would be like, all right, whatever. Do you have a preference like Meisner with a Hagen and Chekhov? What is the from all your training and all your things? What has do you kind of recommend that actors try different techniques when they're starting off till they find the one, or do you sort of swear by one that's worked for you?
You know what? Here's what I say. Try the different techniques. Learn the Stanislavski, learn the Meisner, go, do the work at Hagen, do the Hagen stuff. But I wouldn't recommend you pick one or look for one. I recommend you try all these different techniques and styles out and figure those pieces that really work for you in each style and take them with you to go to work. So when I go to approach a job, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go full method on this. Or I look at, okay, what is this? It depends on the role, depends on the production or whatever is going on with me. But I try different things to make sure that what I want to bring out gets done by that particular technique or set of techniques or combination of techniques. But I like to learn all of them so that I can use them as tools for me as an actor. I understand there are actors that swear by their one method, their technique they like, and that's great. But what's worked best for me is to be able to draw from the different ones that I've studied.
Just pick and choose kind of the it's like what they say about your horoscope. If there's 3 good things and 1 bad thing, just focus on the good ones, right?
Yeah, pick what works for you. No, regardless of what it is, whatever works for you.
When you make that decision, like, you studied engineering and you kind of went down that path, but then these things started keep popping up for you. But that was after you left Detroit, Michigan, right? Did you start actively practicing while you were still there?
Acting?
Yes.
No. I really left that in high school, and then I went on to become an engineer. I went to college and I got a job at an engineering firm and did that for years. And it wasn't until later on in life for me that I realized that this is great, but there's more that I want to do, and I don't want to live my whole life, doing the what if thing. I wish I would have tried this once or whatever. So I made the decision. I've done this. I was an accomplished engineer. I was very proud of my career, but I'm like, I want to go in this other direction. Because something in me is saying this is what I really want to do with my life, and it was that was it.
It's similar, kind of like being, because I mean, if you were an accomplished engineer, it's almost like you were good at something that you maybe didn't have a passion, which is something that I can kind of relate to, because I have a side career in sales and customer and consulting companies about their sales teams and stuff like that. It's something that I'm incredibly good at.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I don't have a passion for it. My passion is, telling stories, making people laugh, doing stuff like this. You know what I mean? So I can completely understand what it's like to have a job that you could have a totally safe, a safe environment where you're not gonna you have paycheck security, et cetera, but you think you think there would have been something that could have made you shut that part off for forever, or do you think that at some point you were always gonna kind of open that door? Like if you were like an engineer for like NASA or something like groundbreaking, time. What if you were like an engineer on like the time travel project? Do you think if you were doing something that sort of far ahead, you think you could have given that up?
No, I think at that point you're way too deep in.
Okay.
When you get to that point, you're on the groundbreaking stuff.
Yeah.
Then you're on the cusp of something that's for humanity. I mean, I think at my point, I was an engineer and I made the change. I was in the point where I was in the corporate stuff, and we were like, my team were trying to work on these cool new things we were trying to come up with and invent, and they were like, no, go back and use that hardware that's 20 years old, because that's what everyone's buying now. You can't work on those stuff. You go ahead and retool this old stuff and just deal with that. So we were at that point where we were just kind of burnt out. Not burnt out, but we were like frustrated to a point where, it was an opportunity for me to look elsewhere, I think. So it just happened to be that way for me in the career. Had that corporation been like, hey, yes, we want you to work on this other thing that's going to be flying on the, the next space shuttle mission at the time or whatever it was, I probably would have never looked the other way.
So if the Ghost of Christmas Past comes to you and they were like, all right, here's the two options you have, Merrick, all right? You're going to be the lead engineer on the engineering team that gets us to Mars, or you're going to win 2 Oscars. So you can either step on stage and say, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Mars. Or you can step on stage and say, I want to thank my agent. I want to thank the director, Lou Martinez, for his vision. Well, which option are you taking there?
It's a tough question now because I'm so far into the acting that I still would lean towards having the ultimate success in my acting career. Had this question been posed around the time I was making the decisions, I'd have been like, well, yeah, I'd go back to aging. But now it's like, you know, I've gotten so far into this that I understand, and I look back at the work that it would take for me to lead the team for Mars. I'm like, man, I don't, because I'm so far ahead in the acting world now. So
then we could go make a movie on Mars.
That is true. We could.
All right, we got another comment from Dimitri, who's watching live. It says, exclusive interview with top talent in SD. Great content. Thank you for watching, Dimitri. We had him on last week when we were talking about his upcoming projects, and I'll have him on again. He's one of the Burrito collaborators. When you know, current event wise, I see you kind of putting yourself out there in conversations, comment sections, kind of. You know, there obviously 2020 is a crazy year. There's all these new movements and kind of, you don't want to say new because it's stuff that's been happening since the 50s, 60s. Obviously,
sure.
that not much has changed. Do you find that at any point your management or advisors kind of tell you to sort of take a step back from being vocal about stuff like that, or do you feel like the climate right now is that it's the opposite of that, where people are encouraged to sort of speak out about it, the things that they believe in?
Well, for the industry, I don't think it is. They're telling you to go either direction. So I see people, big name casting directors, posting the Biden-Harris, signs, or I see other folks that are posting the Trump stuff, and I'm like, and it's weird because I'm not, I'm a Democrat. I'm a Biden-Harris. So I do the comments only when I'm, if I'm on Facebook and my Facebook page feed is so strange because I'll see one like way pro Biden Harris, and then I'll see one way pro Trump, and just having these different things on my page. And some of them I don't mind, but there's some that I'm just so offended by that I have to step in and say something like, okay. And I don't get belligerent. I try not to. But I will step in and put something factual. Okay, this is the facts in this, because it's they have the propaganda stuff that people do, and so I try to say something. But as far as posting on my page, I steer away from it. I think only because my view is I'm still in the entertainment industry where everything is looked at, and I'm not so much afraid of what I'll say. It's just that I don't want to commit too much of my social media to that, because I don't want to give the impression that's all I'm about. Like, if you hire me and bring me to set, this is all I'm going to be talking about, arguing with people about politics. So I don't really do that for that main reason. But I certainly do have my views about it. And I mean, if you look at my title page, it's a picture of the Obama family. That's my cover page. So I kind of let it be known kind of up front.
Right.
You know the deal with me. I don't really say that much more. You get it. So.
Yeah, well, I think it was easier before to sort of be like, I don't, because I mean, it's almost like it's not like you're taking the Michael Jordan sort of, Republicans buy Nikes too sort of stance, but it's almost like Republicans also make movies, not necessarily that you want to sort of, I don't know, is it putting yourself in a position where you're limiting your job opportunities? Is that just like a practical sense?
I think stating your political beliefs is probably okay, but I think that when you are like belligerent, like some people tend to be, like belligerent, right. Not like
if you get deep into weeds, deep into like
fighting
trolls.
People see that and they're like, okay, this guy is, or this woman, or this person is someone that I wouldn't want to work with. I mean, I based on what they're writing, I realize in an argument it's heated, but that kind of stuff I don't want to have around me. So that's kind of how I look at it. No,
do you believe in sort of keeping those people in your feed in a sense to know what the other side is doing? Do you keep people like that on your feed because you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, Or are you kind of like a snooze somebody for 30 days, and then if they keep saying a bunch of random stuff, you just get rid of them and sort of save yourself the aggravation?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I have not blocked anyone. I don't think I haven't even snoozed anyone. Certainly not for political stuff. I don't block anyone. For one, yes, I do want to remember who they are. I do want to remember who they are. And also, I think sometimes I find myself them saying things that are flatly wrong, and I feel just encouraged to step and say, no, this is not right. But yeah, I don't. I haven't gotten into unfriending. People may have unfriended me. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like, part of my thinking too is that people that are on the other side of me, I feel have this echo chamber thing going. And the more people that are blocking them, unfriending them, they're just talking to each other and build themselves up, and they get no opposing view. So I want to be at least one person who says, no, this is BS, what you just wrote, what you posted, it doesn't make sense. And so they have some sense that they're not everyone's on your side with this, because I think that's part of what's driving this thing is they're thinking everyone's on their side. So having that had opposing viewpoint, I think, is good for either side.
I think it's also, I mean, obviously Facebook makes money on interactions between people and then getting more data. So I think, you know, we did an experiment a few months back where, even though I'm obviously left leaning, you know, I posted a picture that, depending on what side you were on, you might construe it either way. It was a picture of Pelosi and them kneeling with the African garb, and then Trump in front. And I was like, you know, honestly, both of these are pandering. And I had a dozen people that I didn't even know I was still friends with who that showed up in their feed. They've never liked or commented on one of my videos. I'm not put in front of them for like my dog stuff or my other stuff that I post up. But as soon as I put something that had a political, you know, leaning to it, I automatically got put on some of these people's feeds, and they were commenting and they were treating me like I was some sort of like Trump fanatic. And I'm like, do you know me at all? You know, so I also think it's almost a fabrication of the social media platforms that we use that are also going to amplify these fights, because that means more engagement, that means more discussions between people, more commenting, and more people with eyes on their platform, right?
Yeah, I find myself more and more aware of that too, is that this is a construct of this platform to get people to interact. And so I do limit a lot of our actions, my commenting, because of that. I don't want to constantly be commenting, because I don't want to feed this machine, this data gathering machine, which is basically what it is. But also, it's exhausting for you if you're someone that thinks a lot and studies a lot and reads a lot. It's exhausting to have to go through dealing with people that have these ideas and you know they're wrong, and then they go into proving yourself right. So you got to go and research, and it's like, you know, I got stuff to do. I don't have time to prove to you that there is to make racism in America. I don't have time to define what white privilege. I don't have time. You have to figure that out for yourself, man. I'm sorry. You know? No,
I think it's, you know, and you know what the good thing is, that there's people out there that actually are fighting the good fight. Like, well, what was the thread? Ryan Castleman, I think, had one where, you know, Zilna, a couple of other people that I know, that they'll get in there and they'll just throw facts and facts and facts and facts, and they'll own some trolls. And so sometimes I'll pick and choose my spots when I'm knowledgeable about something. And especially if they're people that are, you know, that are posting stuff and I know them, I'll try to come at them in a sort of, you know, not the way that most of them come at you, which is, you know, knives out, but I try to come at it from a place of understanding. But eventually I always sort of back out of it, and just, I know there's people out there that really are keyboard warriors, and they really push that, and you know, and I'm just like, hey, I'm gonna let those people amplify those voices, because I don't have the energy to sort of do that. But it's funny that we're in a profession that you have to sort of make these decisions though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And again, I'm proud of where I stand, but it's not about my views. It's about, what I'm about. And I don't want to project that all I'm about is political argument. I have wonderful things in my life, several things, career, spiritually, family, all this stuff. And so when I see people posting only political stuff, I'm like, is that all you're about? Because I wonder, and I know if I wondered, other people wondered about me if I were posting that. Is that all you're about, is posting these political propaganda stuff? Is that what your life is? And that's sad for me. That's all you can put out there is this. I love the dog. I tag you on dog stuff all the time.
Yeah,
because I think of other people and I see some of these funny
absolutely.
People. That's what I kind of do with it. I don't, I'm not trying to go people in the argument.
I get tagged in dog stuff, and I get tagged every time somebody sees that tortilla that looks like that blanket that looks like a tortilla. Anytime somebody sees the ad for that tortilla blanket, they always tag me or they send it to me. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I like burritos. I like it when you give somebody back like some just honest feedback or something, and they're like, well, Democrats are pro pedophile, and I'm just like, no, literally, if we found out tomorrow that Tom Hanks, Bill Clinton, name anybody, if you find out that they're doing shit to kids, burn them all. Like, I don't. Democrats are okay with. I literally, and then if you say no, I don't. I'm completely against that. Let's burn every single one. They just ignore you.
Yeah.
So,
that's the other thing too. You get a lot is when they talk about the Epstein stuff. Well, Bill Clinton was on the plane. I'm like, okay, then he should go to jail. I don't give a okay.
Let's walk up to him.
Why do you think we're obsessed with Bill Clinton for some reason? We are not obsessed with Bill Clinton.
Knock down those idols. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
I had a question for you that so you book a show, right?
Yes.
You book a show. Let's say it's like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air like remake or something, right?
Right.
And the producer walks in wearing like a MAGA hat, spouting stuff around. Are you more in the position of, I'm not going to cost myself a job or walk off in protest or something like that. If something like that happens, I kind of wanted to ask you and another actor this question, because if you knew that the producer wore that hat, number one, would you take the job? Number two, if you didn't know until you walked on set and it was the producer or the director, would that make a difference to you? And then my third question that I want to ask another actor is, if Merrick passes on that job and you're a white actor and then they want to hire you, how do you feel about taking that job? From your position, the first two questions would apply.
Yeah, I think at this, because my view of people that wear the MAGA hats, I think they're the ones that are, what do you call those people that try to suck you into their religion? What is it called?
Zealots.
They're the zealots, I guess. They're the zealots. So I'm worried about how they not necessarily treat me, because I can manage, but I wouldn't want to be in a position where they're in a spot where they're treating someone else wrong because they don't like the MAGA and say something. And now I got to be in a position to say something, and it's a thing. So I'd probably I don't know if I want to take this job, And thankfully, most creative, by far more a majority of creative people in this industry are not zealots. I don't think in either way, in either direction necessarily, but especially not to wear a MAGA hat to set. I mean,
at least they will, even if they do. I mean, there's a lot of people, especially when you get up to people with money, that are going to have Republican leaning views that might be able to.
Those are the classical Republicans, the conservative, stingy with their money and don't want to help them. Okay, all right, but the Trump Republicans are kind of a different hybrid of what the Republicans supposed to be. So if I knew beforehand, I would probably say no. I don't want to do this. But if I were to book the job, and it is the new Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and the director walks out with a MAGA hat on, I don't know. I'd have a lot of questions. Like, how did you get hired? Because directors get hired by networks to do stuff. How did you get hired to do Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and you in a MAGA hat? I mean, That would be, and it might even be distracting from my work.
Plot twist, it's Kanye West.
It's
This very special episode of The Fresh Prince has been directed by Kanye West.
Yeah, I would just expect the crazy, and it would probably be a story that I had for my to tell my friends later how I worked a job that was directed by Kanye West, who did it in a MAGA hat.
Kanye, and then guess who walked in? Guess Kanye West. Guess what he was wearing?
I know, right? A MAGA hat.
Slave Vegetables says open-minded center is always the best.
Yeah. Yes, I try to be. I'm there to work, and that's another thing too about the business people don't get is that it's free. As long as I've been doing this, no one ever comes in and wants to go into politics stuff. Not until this stuff, since I've worked now. No one gets into politics stuff when we're on set. That's just something.
Yeah, politics and religion are things you don't talk about at dinner.
Right.
You don't talk about on set.
No, not at all. So it would be strange to see it at all. But yeah. So I don't really worry about that too much with my career. But I do want to know who the people are. Like I want to know, okay, this is, and see where they are with this. Like, hey, if you're Republican because you want to stick to your traditional views and you have this conflict that you want to address, that the guy you got at the top of your party is batshit crazy. Okay, you have a conflict, you don't know what to do. All right, but if you're like, the fanatical zealot person and you really aren't Republican, you would just do it. If this guy said he was, zygocrat or zygo,
right.
Whatever, you wouldn't care. You just follow him anyway. That's another story. That's a problem. So.
You want to see how I can transition to different topics, Merrick?
How do you do that? Good job.
And right, just like that, we're on to another segment.
Yeah.
When you, I want to, because I obviously that's kind of topical, like the whole thing that just came out with, about Trump and the troops and stuff. It's almost like they're trying to do like the Swift boat from John Kerry, which is John Kerry. They sort of try to change a perceived strength into a weakness, because John Kerry was the guy that was, Vietnam guy, and all this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're like, but the Swift boats, and then they just derailed his whole shebang was gone after the Swift boats. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to do with the Don right now. There's also something currently going on where a candy manufacturer is decided to retire, and there's going to be a real life Willy Wonka type golden ticket situation right happening soon. Have you heard about this?
No.
I don't know I don't know what the candy is. I've seen a couple of posts about it, but some candy manufacturer is doing like a real life Willy Wonka type deal right now. And we got fires burning. Obviously, if anybody's in the East County, thoughts with you guys. There's all kinds of shit happening locally. It's like, do you get overwhelmed by the fact that all these major events that are happening get only like a day or two to breathe before something else comes along? It seems like, either Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman passed away, but it's almost like you don't really even get a chance to really process that, and then half of California is on fire, and Donald has said the troops were losers, and it's almost like, not only is it a weird year, you think that's because we're stuck inside and because it sort of affects us differently, or is this year actually different, that all this shit is sort of happening and we don't even get a minute to like breathe about it?
Yeah, it's too fast and furious, and I think that's the reason why so many people shut down from it, and they want to not, they don't want to get involved, they don't want to see anymore. They just want to, I just want to go and play Parcheesi, or I want to sculpt or whatever. They don't. It's too fast and furious. So it's intensified this year, especially with the pandemic. I think it's been here for 2-3 years though, with the Fast and Furious, so much happening. But it's definitely intensified this year more than any other. And it's really sad. Wonderful thing about Chaz Boseman, his career or is going, and to reach that. And it wasn't a quick thing. He's been around for a while. He's done, he's done the different autobiographical flicks. I think, Marshall. I think
Jackie Robinson, and he died on Jackie Robinson Day.
Yeah. So yeah, and my question was, what was like? I wonder, and so much heartfelt condolences to the family. Did he when did he find out? Did he find out after he booked Panther, and he's like, "Oh, you got this," and he's like, "Okay." And did he make a decision like, "Yeah, okay, I'm still going to do Panther. I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to secretly, go through my treatments, whatever, and see what I can do. But I'm going to do this." And I wonder this because I did see a segment. I don't know if you saw. If you saw, the comedian, the short comedian that everyone loves, dark skin.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart did his series and about his business, and he had sort of this series about some personal life stuff that he was going through. There was one point where he had a business meeting with Chadwick Boseman about doing Uptown Saturday Night, the remake. And Chadwick Boseman comes in, they show the cameras, he's in there, and he sits down and listens to Kevin Hart's pitch for this Uptown Saturday Night remake, which is, I think, would have been awesome to have him in there. And he kind of gave it a cool nod, like, "Yeah, let me think about it, whatever." I was like, "Oh wow, why would he even think it?" I would, most great actors would jump on this because Uptown Saturday Night is a classic film. That's one of the things that it's a classic, but I would love for it to be remade. And he was kind of cool on it. So that made me wonder after hearing about his passing, like, was he dealing with that thing? Was he thinking, I don't want to take on any new projects right now because I'm dealing with my treatments? That's kind of what I wonder. What would you do if you've suddenly reached the point where you're at this pinnacle in your career and then this happens to you that's devastating? Do you continue, or do you say, you know what, let me take a step back and deal with this?
It also is did he kind of give them any hints that, hey, you might want to wait on rolling on Black Panther 2, because of something like this? I do know that from a lot of the stories that I've heard, him and his circle knew about it. I don't know if it was during Black Panther filming, but shortly after, but he knew about it at least during the last couple of movies that he made. And and I think it had to be close to the time that Black Panther was going to come out, because there was that clip of him answering questions about him corresponding with cancer kids that were hoping to watch Black Panther before they died.
Oh wow!
And allegedly he knew he had terminal cancer while he was trying to make sure that these kids with terminal cancer got the chance to see that movie before they passed away. And I think he broke down on screen. He broke down on stage at one point where he was talking about as a kid that didn't make it. He didn't get a chance to watch Black Panther be finished. And obviously, he was visiting cancer kids. He was doing all these things while he knew and going through this process. And then there was pictures of him in the press, having lost some weight. Yeah. And people were sort of clowning him or trying to figure it out. And, it's hard to go through something like that. It's even harder to go through something like that with that level of dignity. And so obviously it makes it kind of all the more impressive that of a human being that he was. And kind of like, he sort of reaches icon status pretty quickly based on that,
Yeah.
And also for what he meant to people. I mean, I talk about being a kid and seeing the name A. Martinez on the LA Law opening credits and being like, wow, I see my name on screen.
Yeah.
But, into an entire generation of African-American and minority kids, they see this. Obviously, you come from a different generation, and I understand that when you were growing up, what were the TV and movie sort of icons that you saw, that kind of, did you see a lot of representation? I mean, obviously music, Motown, stuff like that, but in terms of TV and film, what kind of were you drawn to, that you felt sort of represented you?
Well, when I was a kid, we had a lot of I think they were called blaxploitation films. And Superfly was probably the first film that, and I was a little kid when it came out. Not dating myself, but maybe they re-screened Superfly. They re-released it, and I was a little kid. That Shaft, Richard Roundtree and Shaft. Who else? There's a lot, and then on general TV. I mean, there's Ted Lang on The Love Boat. Sherman Hemsley on The Jeffersons. Fantastic actor, fantastic on stage. Robert Guillaume, fantastic actor. Just these are people. When I was growing up, these are people I looked at, and I think Robert Guillaume's character on Benson struck me because he was a well-known, accomplished Broadway actor, and he's on this silly comedy on TV playing the butler, but he was really the hero of the show. He was the only one that had the sense on the show. And that was the comedy, that he was the guy that actually, and he had a lot of funny dialogue too, but he was the guy that actually had sense on the show. And I got a sense that approaching with this role, he probably listen, as long as I'm not an idiot, I don't want to be the, step and fetch it butler in this. I'm the guy. They're like, absolutely, we're writing this smart. You're going to be the guy that knows it. And all these other people are idiots, and you're the smart one in this whole series. And so that struck me as a kid, as how you can take on something with dignity and pride and make it something powerful. And that was powerful.
That was I had Daniel Butler on the other day, and I did a bracket of famous butlers, and I was like, Benson, and he was like, who the hell is that? And I was like, damn, you're young. You don't know. I was like Benson or Mr. Belvedere, and he was like Mr. Belvedere because I don't know who Benson is.
Wow, it's different things, and it's funny. A. Martinez, I can see that too, because Peggy and I, he and his wife have gotten to be good friends over the years. We've had dinner, they've been over our house, and we've hung out with them. But he was on the series Santa Barbara for years as the leading sex symbol on Santa Barbara, and huge super fan base. So to this day, he still has this crazy fan base where they have like Santa Barbara cruises, or some of the cast get together, and they have people that fly in from all over the world to be on this cruise to be with some of the cast of Santa Barbara. Wow. He's a great actor. And he and I talked. I learned a lot from him and his acting. He was on. I loved he had a small role on Queen of the South, which is one of my favorite series. He had a small role in that, but his bigger role was on Longmire most recently, where he plays sort of it's an anti-hero sort of character, more of a villain. He's like the casino owner, but he's got some powerful work in there. So I can see that as a little kid, seeing someone like A. Martinez, that name, Hispanic name, on a big, all-American show like L.A. Law was at the time in the 70s. I mean, that's a huge deal to see represented like that. I mean, I felt similar when I can't think of his name now. The black actor who was on L.A. Law also came in later. Blair Underwood. Yeah.
No, I honestly, like, for some reason, and I guess I watched L.A. Law in the 80s, but it just struck me as, even though I was just like, that's my last name, that's on a white TV show, and I was like, A. Martinez. I'm a Martinez. Wait a minute. This isn't so far-fetched for me. And it was always, and for some reason, that moment has always stuck into my head. So you should let him know that so he comes on the podcast.
You invite him. He's a pretty mellow dude. So
absolutely. I wanted there's two things I kind of wanted to, because I know we've sort of gotten sidetracked here and there, but just kind of to circle around to when you started in acting, and sort of because one of the things I told you about is you seem like an actor that has always from the beginning sort of taken the correct steps to sort of, because I always say this is an industry for actors specifically where a great majority of the people that fail are people that quit. And that if you take the right steps, you improve as an actor, you put yourself out there, there's character work for all types of different people, so I always feel that's kind of one of my thoughts. But when you started off and you sort of decided what kind of path to take, do you know like what mistakes you could have made that sort of you steered away from, or what mistakes do you think young actors make a lot of time when they're starting off?
I see most young actors having the wrong expectation about the industry. That's the biggest thing. I think a lot of actors come in and think, okay, I'm gonna get in this business. I'm gonna, show up. I'm the most handsome, or I'm the prettiest woman, or whatever. They're not gonna be able to deny my talent, my attractiveness, because I'm just gonna blow them away, and they're gonna put me on the next series. I'm gonna be on the next, Girlfriends or whatever the awesome show is. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't, and so the people with that expectation off the bat, the ones that don't learn they need to change that are the ones that quit, and that is when you fail. And I got some great luck at the very beginning, and I've had some luck throughout my career. But I've also had a lot of failure, a lot of bad steps, a lot of missteps, a lot of mistakes. And the difference is, I just didn't quit. I didn't give up. And a lot of times, me not giving up was the insane choice to people. People are like, man, how can you still do this if you're not having this kind of success? How can you still possibly be going after this? And I couldn't. Something within me would not allow me to quit. I just kept going. And so that's where I continue to be. I keep going. And I've had success, and I think it appears to people that, I had great success. I got all these credits and stuff, and that took a lot of work. It took a lot of missteps, and I've had eight agents or so, more than 8 agents. I've had a couple different managers. I've had things that I bombed on. I've had auditions that I've totally blown, embarrassed myself in. I've had a lot of strife about this, but I didn't quit. So that's the big thing for young actors, is understand that it's going to take work and it's going to take time. If you're not prepared for both those things, then you need to start to be, or you're looking at quitting because you're going to get frustrated,
You got to be like a 5-year overnight success, right? There's no such thing. It's few and far between the people that show up and immediately get cast and stuff. You got to take the steps. You got to put in the work.
Yeah.
Go through the different level of productions. But at some point, you have to start making decisions about types of shows to not be on. One of the things that I remember about having conversations with you, because I was fortunate enough to work with you when you were first starting out, and and we were first starting out as well, where we shot scenes where it was literally me, you, and another actor in the room, and that was it. Mm-hmm. But at some point, after you started getting a little bit more recognition, we had a conversation where you were like, okay, I'm going to do this thing for you, but I'm not sure if I need the IMDb credit, right? Do you think that when actors are starting off, there is such a thing as too many credits? Or do you think or are you just like pile them on, deal with it later? Or is there some sort of science and method to that? Or is that something that comes down from management?
I think it's a combination of things. When you're starting out, get some stuff on your IMDb. Short films. The only thing I would not recommend you put on your IMDb at any point is things that are uncredited, because uncredited generally means that you are background in it, and that doesn't come off that you actually won that role. It just came off that you just got picked out of a group of photographs or whatever to get a job. You weren't actually auditioning for it. So I would avoid that. But anything you put on there and you're starting out, put on there. With me, what is happening now is I have a good, solid, growing network TV credit list for TV. On my film side, I've got several award-winning short films, 1, maybe 2 indie features or 3 on there, but no blockbuster went to theaters for wide release movies. And so I'm trying to get into that, and I think and I have a lot of them, and it's like, I don't want to come off as only being able to do independent low budget films, I want to show that I can do larger budget things as well. And I think I felt like putting in everything that I do as far as indie features makes me feel like I'm just padding my resume. Like I've done all these films, and I don't want people to, when I say I've done a lot of films, people go through them and they say, oh, I haven't heard of this, I haven't heard of Blacklisted, or I haven't heard of the other stuff that I've done, and think I was just sort of padding it like I was making up that I had a successful acting career. And of course, they sit down and see the TV part and go, "Oh, okay, well, you've been in stuff." So I'm trying to balance out my feature film part of my IMDb so that it sort of is in line with my TV part, which is rapidly increasing.
Yeah, no, we know Merrick. Because we can't turn on the TV. The other day I had a lady friend over and she was watching Netflix, and then all of a sudden I turn around and I see you, and I'm like, what is that? She's like, oh, All American. I'm like, I know that guy. And then also Brooklyn Nine-Nine, This Is Us, Get Shorty, Lethal Weapon, the ones I mentioned earlier. I mean, congratulations, number one, because I remember like the last time that we had you on a podcast on Indie Apocalypse, which was several years ago, you were like, the goal for an actor like me is to start getting these, specifically the types of credits you're getting now, like special guest appearance or reoccurring role and things like that.
Reoccurring series regular, yeah.
So, and I literally remember me and you talking about, which is like, yeah, I'm starting off, I'm doing this. You only had a couple at that point, and then all of a sudden from then to now, you got like a half dozen legit credits. Now, how does that feed that ego?
I don't have too much of an ego about it. I'm happy to have that, have those experiences working on those shows. But my focus is, okay, my next milestone is series regular. And I'm getting the guest stars, yes. I'm booking stuff. I'm getting a lot of commercials too, which we haven't really talked about. Series regular is a thing because
you had that Boost Mobile commercial, right? That was national.
The Boost Mobile was national. I was actually on a McDonald's commercial at the very beginning of
it. Yeah. The Gustavo
Fring. Yeah, exactly. Maria, I forgot her name. Maria Ramirez. And the commercial's funny because you hear my voice, and you turn around, I'm already gone. The commercial's one of those where you have me saying something, all of a sudden they switch to something else altogether. But yeah, it's been McDonald's, 5 Hour Energy. I did a 5 Hour Energy spot. That was
right.
I actually most recently did something for AARP, which is funny. that aired actually back in late April. Early April, I think, or late March, and it aired like for 1 or 2 weeks, and they stopped because that's when the pandemic hit, and so it hasn't aired since. So I don't know.
And then locally, I couldn't go to the gym without seeing you like watching your rims on one of those local commercials that they brought you out
exactly.
for.
Yeah, the Pacific Marine. Yeah, it's funny. That bank is now called Front Wave Credit Union. They still cater to the military, and I'm still multiple account holder. they take good care of me. They remember me. That
I did have a question in terms of the acting. Do you believe that the commercials in any way diminish you as an option for films, or do you think that it's all relevant?
No, yeah, it is. It is not at all that case. Many actors have a start in commercials and move on to major roles in television and film. It is not something that limits you. If anything, because what it's about now is it's about money to a lot of producers now. It's about, okay, who's bankable, who we know is familiar, who we know people are going to want to watch. So what they're looking for in a lot of cases are familiar faces they know are attractive to people. Oh yeah, you've seen this guy. Oh yeah, I know that guy. So that's kind of where I'm falling into now is the guy, you've seen this guy before.
You've seen that guy.
Yeah, exactly. But not the guy that, you've seen too much of that guy. It's like, I'm not saturating in the commercial work yet. I just, the guy you recognize because you've seen me. It's kind of like these subliminal messages I'm putting out to the industry. Those little spots, these little print ads. So that when my picture comes up for potential role, they go, oh yeah, okay, I know that guy. Yeah, he's good.
Now okay. I always go to the this or that, or the Ghost of Christmas Past bit here, but they come at you with the two separate offers again, Merrick. This time you get to choose between a national commercial for let's say like AT&T, like you're the new can you hear me now guy, but it's for AT&T, right? This is like multiple spots airing multiple times. You're going to be on all kinds of the playoffs all the time. Or behind door number 2, since we mentioned earlier, they're remaking The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But they need a Joffrey. They need a butler. they need a Joffrey. And Merrick, we want to offer you this part of Joffrey, but you gotta turn down the AT&T commercial because we don't want to cross-pollinate the airwaves or whatever it is that producers say. But we're gonna give you. We're guaranteeing 2 seasons. 2 seasons of Fresh Prince, or 5 years of residuals from AT&T.
Yeah, you know what? Hands down, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Okay. Only because I know how the money works for both these things. Now, again, the series regular on this gives you, it says 2 years, but now, after 2 years, I'm in the series regular category of actors, period. You don't even offer anything lower than that now. I'm going to get into the show because I've done well on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's how it works with series regular level stuff. On the commercial, it makes good money. Yes, Flo is a millionaire. The guy that he's a million. They're millionaires, yes.
Yeah.
But again, and Flo's done other stuff.
Right.
I think in that level, it's too recognizable, too identifiable as that caricature. Then you might have a tougher time convincing a young director or a new director that you can do this groundbreaking, edgy role if everyone knows you as a "Can you hear me now" guy. So. I would easily take the series regular for a lot of reasons.
Right.
And again, the money's good on commercials, but I think the series regular is long-term way more powerful for your long-term career than the 5 years spent on commercials.
At the point in the career that you're in, you're going to sacrifice a little bit of money for being able to take the next step.
Right. Yes, I can. Yeah, and again, the series regular pay well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's nothing to sneeze at. I like to balance it out to make it a tough decision. And sometimes I put it out there and people are like, absolutely this right away. I'm like, I didn't make the question tough enough. I should have.
Yeah. And it's interesting because that is a thing, because when you do the commercial, like I've done commercials, you work that 1 or 2 or 3 days, and if you're doing several spots, you might work scattered in around 1 year, but you have this income coming for years and you don't work anymore. You got all this time to do whatever you want with your family, with your money, with your life, your interests. That's great. Whereas a series regular, you are really working, weeks, 3 to 4 months a year on this. And then you're now thinking you're going to either be with family or you're probably getting movie offers by this point. So it's a struggle. I've talked to doing This Is Us with Sterling K. Brown. We're talking about this. He's like, you know what? I have kids. I have a family, and you know what? This is great. I love my job, but they're certainly happy when the season's over, filming the season's over, and I'm home because it's a grind. He loves it. He does very well. He's a great guy. He's got a great family, but it's work. So that's another difference. What you want from your career. If you want the big money with less work and just simple, face recognition, maybe the commercial's fine, but if you want a long-term career where you get to really build on your craft and build your long-term potentials, your prospects, maybe the series regular is going to be a better fit for you.
Have you gotten to the point in your career where you're more recognized for like these smaller parts than you are for being the Denzel lookalike, or is that still?
It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It was fun, man. It was in San Diego in particular, and it was a while. I went through that for a while where I'd be walking around San Diego and people walk up and, oh man, I thought you were, it's funny, you look like Denzel Washington. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. I get that a lot. And that hasn't happened as much. I'm wondering maybe because I haven't been out as much.
Right.
And, but it was a thing for a long time. You know the story about me in the magazine, right? You saw that.
No, yeah, that's the magazine where they had a picture of you. It's funny because you know Jace, right? Jace Venditti.
Yeah.
He was at the San Diego International Film Festival this past year, and they took a picture of him and said he was Pitbull because he had the ball. Or they had a video clip of him saying he was Pitbull for the at one of the open ceremonies. Yeah, just because he had the bald head, but Pitbull was nowhere near that festival.
No, yeah, Jay's a pretty handsome guy, probably more handsome than Pitbull.
Just because, Jay's a good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned, the shows that you were on, like for example, like This Is Us, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. When you step on those sets, obviously, it's a lot different than stepping on set for like a 48 hour or something like that, obviously. But what level of nervousness do you have when you step onto an established major show at this part of your career? I mean, from a certain perspective, I know that you realize that you've put in the work. So to a certain degree, you've earned that position. But do you still kind of go back to that sort of kid hoping to get a positive reaction? Do the nerves kick in like when they tell you, hey, you're needed on set? How do you process those days on set?
I think now I'm to the point where I built up a little bit of level of confidence, with myself after booking the job. Then I've earned the job. I think I go in with the sense of I've earned this, and so I don't get shy or really nervous when I step on the set because I'm the guy they picked. I've earned it. I've worked over this for years. And I don't feel like and I know how the business is, even series regulars on the show make a lot of flubs, make a lot of mistakes, forget their lines. Everyone does this. So I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be the guy that's flawed when I walk inside and mess up a line. Everyone else is perfect. No, everyone messes up their lines, especially series regulars because they have so much more to memorize and a lot harder work than you do. So I usually come in and I've already well prepared. So I just come in and I do it, and they're impressed.
Do your thing.
Yeah, I do a thing, and they're impressed. But and I'm sure they must know that while I'm on for the day or two, I got 3 pages of lines, and series regulars got 15, 20 pages. So yeah, I'm going to come off as smooth because I'm prepared. Yeah. But I had a lot less work to do, even though I did the work. I have a lot less to do than these guys do. So yeah,
I always used to make the joke with you when you would show up late on set. I was like, the guy with the most AMDB credits always shows up last on set. The person with the most Jews always shows up last. That's no matter what the call sheet says. If that's the guy,
one time in particular, I did that shoot. I really truly felt bad. I was shooting something else, and you had to shoot. I double scheduled because I can get out early. I couldn't, and so you were, of course, an excellent filmmaker. You made do at the time and did all the stuff till I got there, but it was like, and so I had to come in, and I was a little nervous, but I feel like with your help, we were able to do great work that night.
No, yeah, absolutely, and I give shit to Jody sometimes too, because the first day that you were on set for Blacklisted, we were at an office shooting like a little office scene with you. And they're, let's get started. Who's this Merrick guy? And I had worked with you before on 5 Plus, so I was like, I knew you. And then when me and Chris came up with Blacklisted, and I was like, well, we need like this bad guy. I was like, I got the guy. I was like, I know Merrick. I'm gonna write a part for him, etc. So, but nobody else knew, like necessarily, like everybody in San Diego didn't know who you were already. It was like right before you were about to blow the F up. You know what I mean? And she's like, all right, man, this actor's not. And then she's like, I'm like, relax. When he gets here, you'll realize why we're waiting for him, And she's like, well, who's this Merrick guy? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, let's start shooting the scene from the other side. I'm like, we're killing time. And I'm this is my first time managing a bigger set.
Yeah.
And then you showed up, we put the camera on, you like nailed the first scene in one take. Everybody's like, That was pretty. That was pretty good. I think the next day she had you talking to her students at class or something like that. It was like right away, everybody like, oh. So I try to take a little bit of credit for that, obviously, but man, you've done a lot of stuff on your end. But yeah, the person for people that don't know, the person with the most IMD credits and the most juice is always going to show up to the set last. It's just a fact of life. So you're going to have to deal with it at an indie level. Just because you have, you and Peggy do your videos, the headshots with Peggy stuff and things like that. I know she's probably more of an expert on this than you, but from your perspective, as it regards to actors and their headshots, I see a lot of times people post these very elaborate, very fancy headshots that they have like the sparkling lights behind them, and they have this, it's a very specific look as opposed to sitting against a blue screen or something and doing them. That I don't want to say it makes them look better than they should, but when I'm looking at a headshot as a director, I want to see truly who you are, because even if it doesn't fit the exact character that I'm looking for, I need to see exactly who you are. So if I cast you as a love interest or as something, and I just see a serious headshot of you like this, but then when you show up on set, you smile and you got like a snaggletooth like this, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Right? You can't surprise casting directors with things like that, right?
Yeah, it's bad to do that to a casting person, because then you hurt your relationship with them. And I think a lot of actors should know that being successful in this is a lot to do with building positive relationships with casting directors. These are people that call you up for audition, and you do a great job, but you don't book the job. But they know you're the guy that will come in and do a great job, and they'll call you back when they have an extra, because ultimately it's not up to them to hire you. It's up to the producer and director and maybe the network to approve you. But the cast person is one thing that gives you the opportunity to come into the door and show what you have. And so if you build a relationship with them where they know they can count on you to come in and nail it and do great work, they're going to keep. I've had casting directors that will offer me either offer me the role outright, or they say we're only auditioning 4 people. We want you to be one of the 4. Or I had one guy that we met, we knew each other, kept in touch here and there, but they needed someone for this role. He just showed his producer my reel and was like, I want to hire this guy. Man, okay, and that was it. No audition, nothing. I just, so, and this is why it's important to not get so discouraged by not booking the job after an audition. You got to make sure that what's important to you is you go in and do good work as an actor, and they see that, and that's what will matter in the end. Booking the job, sure, it matters for you financially and for your trajectory of your career, but the building of the relationship is what's gonna really matter long term.
So you subscribe to the theory that you have the role for the time that you're auditioning for it. So
yes,
Merrick, you got called in to audition for Joffrey. You are Joffrey for those 2 minutes where you're in there. The party's yours. Do it. Make it your own. I always like it when actors make choices that are beyond what's on the page.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're only going to get a certain amount of information about the character when you walk in. Yeah. So I always like it when actors have made decisions that are not specifically written down for them, and that shows me that they're putting in work. But the part is yours for that time frame, and you can't control whether or not you are the exact look that a director or producer is looking for. What you can control is how you act, whether or not you build a positive interaction and relationship with that casting director, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Another great actor that we know is Stephen Tobolowsky, and that's one of his deals is you're not guaranteed to have this role, but there is one time that you are guaranteed to do this role, and that's at the audition. So make that your prime moment to do this role and not get too distracted by whether or not you book the job. And yeah, that's absolutely a good thing to keep in mind as an actor.
And then just because we mentioned the reels, I had sort of sent you a couple of videos where I was criticizing actors' reels in real time because
yeah,
I came up with the idea as a bit because I do have a visceral response to a poorly or a well-constructed reel when I first click on it. And
Yeah.
you have so I've reviewed some reels in real time, which is the pun there. But
Yeah.
did you get a chance to check those out, or what did you think about?
I did look at a couple. I saw George Jack. I saw a little bit of Dante's, and these other two people that the Spanish-speaking pair too. And I did see them. They were funny. You were right. You were digging right into them. I thought it was cool. I will say that I think a lot of actors when they do they have, and I did this too, had a different idea of what a reel's supposed to be. For one, these are technical things, but having other people talking on your reel more than you is, I think, it doesn't help you. And the only time it might is if, like, I have my reel, I'm in the scene with Sterling K. Brown, so a little section of my scene, it will show where he's talking to me, he's talking, and I'm talking the rest of the way. But I make sure I got him in there just so they know this is what I'm acting with. That's kind of when you bring in a
that's like name dropping, reel dropping names.
Right, exactly. So you know, I was in this scene with Sterling, or I was in this scene with
Brower.
yeah, Anthony Brower. So. But otherwise, having the other actors in the scene doesn't really help you, and you need to figure out a way to edit that down to where you just get. And casting people only need to see key chunks of your work. They don't need to see the whole story. People want to put the whole movie into their reel. Like, no, just an intense moment with you to show you in that moment. Another moment in a different type of mode. That's really it. You're not trying to tell them what the scene's about. They don't really care. They just want to see you acting the scene. You know.
Absolutely. Well, there some actors tell me, well, I kind of want, some context. And I'm like, I don't need the context. I've literally seen hundreds of reels and I've seen hundreds of crappy independent short films.
Yeah.
I can figure it out. Everybody's in zombie making.
Yeah.
I know what it is. It's a zombie short. I get it. It's a 48. I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can get the context that I need from your performance, but I don't need to see somebody else unless you're showing me the level of productions you've been on, which is one of the things that I told like George Jack on his reel, which is like, it's a cool clip because I can see that you're the centerpiece of a large production. So that impresses me, but I don't necessarily need to see every other interaction. Once I get the gist of it, then I'm going back to thinking, is this person the right fit for me, right?
Right.
All right. And I say we got another comment here from Enslaved by Vegetables, which is, I've seen Merrick in a few of your films. Fantastic actor. I don't know if that's because he's from I don't know if he's from Southfield.
Yeah, I knew from Southfield, yeah.
Or what, but he seems to like it. Because you were on BK99, there was a recent backlash by one of the actors because they showed a clip of the Quebec version of the show, and they had taken the two Latina actors and replaced them with non-Latina actors.
Really?
And apparently, the Canadian version, and apparently there are Latinas in French-speaking Canada. So, what are your thoughts on people that even today making decisions to whitewash characters?
And I don't know. I haven't given a lot of thought about where dubbing comes into play with that. As far as their voices, maybe that's literally it. The voices, Well,
no. I mean, it's the French Canadian remake of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So every other part, like the police captain is black, the other actors are the same, all white. That it's just the glaring thing is these two these two actresses that are pretty, right now iconic Latina characters on TV both got replaced by just lily white actresses.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my first thought is somebody over there decided to base their decisions on money. And so they figured, okay, we don't have the audience to justify money-wise Latina actors, but our audience likes seeing lily white actresses, so let's just throw them in there because that's what's going to make us the most money. Not a whole lot more, but just more, and that's all I care about is more. That's kind of what my first thought would be at that. I don't think it's right, sure.
where do you fall on the, because this is a conversation I usually like to have with actors, on the spectrum of representation for fringe, either groups, minorities, etc., as opposed to having them be portrayed. The main example that people bring up, obviously, is Bryan Cranston playing a quadriplegic, or something like that. Or when, Ruby Rose got kicked off a show because they said, even though she's bisexual, she wasn't lesbian enough to play a lesbian character. Obviously, acting has progressed a long way to where people of color actually are allowed to play people of color in film.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the next natural battle place is getting people of minority, different genders and stuff to play themselves. But do you feel that it erodes a little bit what the talent that takes to transform yourself in acting is? Or do you just feel that that's something that we got to deal with in terms of progress?
Say that again. Do you feel it erodes what about the talent?
Just because acting is transforming yourself, right? Acting is transforming yourself. If all you had to play was ex-engineers that liked acting, then you're not really stretching yourself too much as an actor. But if they say, Merrick, you can't play, a bisexual painter because you don't have that experience, even though, you know what I mean? Then it sort of erodes at what acting is. But the flip side of that coin is, like I said, 50 years ago, they didn't let brown people play brown people. They just had people put paint on their face, so.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mention that. I'm actually working on a personal project about this guy named Ira Aldridge. He's from New York originally. He's a theater actor who ended up moving to England, and he is the first black actor to play Othello in London. And they were furious that he was playing Othello.
Really?
Yeah, they had a pro-slavery contingent in England still, but they had like protests and everything.
What year was this though?
This is 1830s.
Okay.
1830. So it was a long time ago. But yeah, he was. They were few, and of course, irony is Othello, black character, and they're upset that the actual black actor was playing him, and it was a lot to do with that. One is that they were still in this at that time mindset that black people couldn't possibly be as artistic as to be able to do Shakespeare. The other is that Othello's about him with a white woman, and they had some moments there, and they didn't want to see that on the stage either. So that was part of that. But I think it's come a long way for sure. And I look at shows like, have you seen the new Lovecraft Country, where one of the things that impressed me about that show is it's kind of almost an anthology series, but not really. But it's a horror series, and the main men in the male characters in this movie are well-read, educated, strong black men, and that's not something that you were seeing a lot of before in this type of genre. At least not that I saw a lot of. Back in the old days of, say, the Abbott Costello movies, they had the black bug-eyed guy that was always scared of everything, and this is sort of a long way from that. I think it's, as far as the diversity, I feel like, and you mentioned this earlier about you become someone else. I approach acting slightly different. I look at it more so, I'm bringing out the real part of me that this character is. So this character has some relationship issues or whatever. I'm bringing out that real experience within me. So I'm bringing things about myself out that I don't normally bring out. And then I can create. So I'll create this idea that I'm gay by, saying, okay, I'm seeing this as, for me, I'm a heterosexual. I see this as a female, but I'm having that experience with them, even though they're physically a male, for example. So yeah, it's, I don't know about this whole thing of denying people the right to play roles because they don't think they're so-and-so enough. If you can play the role, if you're putting across this story and having people help you have this experience, that's what's important. If you're not at all gay and you're playing a gay character, that shouldn't be important to me. If you're not at all lesbian and you're playing lesbian, that's important to me. However, I do understand that if it were the case where there was a very talented lesbian actress that was up for this role, and a very talented heterosexual actress, but they chose a heterosexual because they were afraid to have a real live lesbian actress in this role, then yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. But it's
kind of a new frontier, but it's almost.
Yeah.
But if you break it down to the basics of it, it's the same
Yeah.
argument that they had for people of color playing those
Yeah.
roles. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, I think honestly the onus falls on writers and producers and directors,
Mhm.
because I think that from my perspective, to feel clean about it, I just, moving forward, I want to make sure that if I'm casting a role and the character is somebody that's either been oppressed or is a very sort of small subsegment of society, that I at least open myself up to the possibility of somebody from that subset giving them the opportunity to try out for the role. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also, I think that as a filmmaker, you can probably appreciate this. As an actor, my view to you is, hey, you're trying to cast someone who's been, came from an oppressed part of Argentina or Nicaragua, and you have the choice of finding an authentic person that is from that versus a person that's born and raised in America, but is a good actor.
Right.
Would it not help you if you have the authentic person, because there are probably things about that character where they have this shared experience that you don't foresee yet in your writing, but when you're filming, these things will probably come out that will add this dimension that you didn't originally think about before. And I feel that would be a wiser move as a filmmaker. I'd rather go authentic because they're going to bring some extra stuff that I didn't think about to this, as opposed to the actor that isn't really living this life or had this experience. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kind of my thought about it. Yeah.
I think it's just kind of like, it's an ongoing conversation between just sort of being, I think, like I said, at the end of the day, and then a lot of the videos that I've done recently, and I always sort of end them the same way, is I'm a filmmaker. The movies that I create are my art. Once I'm done with them, you can analyze them, judge them, do whatever you want with them. But at the end of the day, it is my project. So I'm going to make the final decision about what and who I want in my movie.
Right.
What I just want people to do is, or what my thought is just think about the choices you're making and why you're making, and at least, since we're talking about Shakespeare, to thine own self be true, be open with yourself about figuring out why it is that you are doing certain things, and be open with yourself enough to consider, me and Brian, have basically whatever Brian produces and whatever Brian writes and I produce, there's never a conversation where it's like, this guy has to be white, this guy has to be black.
Yeah,
it's always but sometimes it is. Sometimes it's like, I kind of see this guy, but but we always have this open ethnicity thing, for most roles, but not everybody has that.
No, I think it's a great point you're making too, because I think the difference is, as an independent filmmaker who's creating real art, and like you said, it's art for you, it's art, what you're creating. You have the choice of how that art is done. You can't go tell a sculptor, oh, you got to use this kind of clay for this, or else it's not right. It's like, wait, this is my sculpture. I can put whatever I want. The difference is, if it is network machinery where you have an entire network and they're putting out this full range of this product, and it is known that they are basically guiding sensibilities, they're guiding interpretations of things, then it does that. I think that makes them have some responsibility to what they're putting out there to the public, because the public take this on as real life or truth in certain ways, because this is all they're seeing. So if XBC Network is only showing all blonde, blue-eyed females in every show all the time, it's like, okay, you have some. Yes, it's your art. You can say, I want all blonde, blue. Well, no, that's great, but now you're in a network. Your people are advertisers buying into you. They're watching. They know you have viewers, And so viewers are now taking this in as it's making this impression on them as what reality is, or what beauty is, or what villainy is. You know, if every black person in there is a villain and every woman is white, blonde, white, then you defined in your network what a villain is, what beauty is, or what, you know, what a white woman is. She's always blonde.
Right.
So that's where I think there is some onus. You know, as a filmmaker, you make an art, you put it, whatever, absolutely. But when you start chugging out, when Burrito Network comes out, and all it is one thing, then yeah,
right.
They're gonna say, hey, Luis, you gotta mix it up a little bit.
Gotta diversify your bonds. What is the comedian? What is the comedian that was like, oh, you know what, racism is over? The other day I saw a home security commercial and the mugger was black, because back in the day all the muggers and house thieves from all the home security commercials was like the white guy with the hoodie and like racism is over. Merrick, we've been going at it for an hour and a half. I have like a couple of quick hitter questions here that I wanted to get with you about. I wanted to talk to you about the work we've done together, and then I have the bracket bit. But I am going to give you a chance to like move around a little bit, grab some water if you can. I need a couple of seconds myself. So we're going to take, as long as it's okay with you, we're going to take a quick break right now with Merrick McCartha, and then we'll come back in like 2 minutes, and I'll power through this, and and then we'll do the rest of the interview. All right?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so everybody stay with us. We're going to be on break for like 2 seconds, for a couple of minutes, and then we'll be back. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comment section now, and I will ask Merrick when we get back. And also make sure that we get a like check. So if you're watching this now, make sure you leave a like on the stream, and we'll be right back. Hello, hello.
All right.
And we are back to finish up this interview with Mr. Merrick McCartha. Once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. One of the things that Enslaved by Vegetable has said was that he's seen Merrick in a few of our films, and he's a fantastic actor. And then we have another comment from James B, who says, appreciate this 2 a.m. Thank you for watching, James B. Thank you for everybody that's tuned in. Everybody make sure that you like and follow 2 a.m. Burrito across all platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, so that you can get notified as we get it. I'm doing a whole Actors Week this week, Merrick. You're today. Tomorrow we have Jose Yenke.
Wow.
From
that
Life.
That guy's cool. I haven't seen Jose in a long time. I wish I could get down there to see him myself. Yeah, I'll watch this.
Hey, definitely. Hey, man, yeah, you want to come in? Hey, this is like the old Merv Griffin show. You want to knock the door and come in and say, hey, Merrick, stopping by to say hi. Absolutely, man. And then we got Randy Davison on Thursday.
Of course.
So it's Randy was for a second I thought that I would have him on at the same time as you, but I thought me and you had enough to talk about basically that we could do just kind of a one-on-one. One thing that's funny that I do mention, because we mentioned this with Brian and with Mark Atkinson when we were talking the other day, is that your email is, without having people spam you, I'm not going to say where it's at, but it's Merrick the Actor, which is hilarious to me because as a big Howard Stern fan, they would have Eric the Actor, which was the little person that used to come on and complain about American Idol. And he was like, I'm Eric the Actor. So it's just one letter away. And every time I see your email or something, it's like Merrick the Actor. It always brings it back to me, especially because David Blaine just did a bit on YouTube where he like flew with balloons, which was the bit they always wanted to do with him. They wanted to strap helium balloons to his chair to see if he could fly. So that's just a little side note. But since politics is such a big thing in the world right now, I did want to talk about a couple of parts that we did together and some of the cool stuff, because I think that you get labeled, or not labeled, but do you find that you get a lot of like serious guy parts, like either serious investigator, reporter, doctor? It's like you get a lot of serious guy parts, right?
I play a lot of detectives. A couple doctors, a couple politicians. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not so. I wanted to focus on the fun action star bad guy Merrick. I kind of wanted us to talk a little bit on a couple of things that you did that I was a part of. So let's start with Zombie Killer Merrick, right? Bang Zoom Pow did a couple of shorts for Horrible Imaginings Film Festival that just finished. And you might remember some of, and I'm waiting for dramatic pause, this. So chopping them down left and right.
So I'm so upset that I don't apparently have access to that clip. I don't know what's going on. I'm out of loop. Can you on a separate channel can maybe make me sort of privy to that little clip I have? several little cousins, nephews that would love to see their uncle.
Oh, I believe. I mean, I was a producer on the project, so I have access.
Okay.
But I believe that that's live on Ty Mabry's stuff. So I will absolutely make sure that you get a copy of that. But how fun was that?
That was one of the funnest experiences I've had, you know, with you and Ty there, and you just kind of, I guess because I've known you for so many years, I felt safe with you to just let the whole Bruce Lee, and you told me, just do the whole Bruce Lee, do whatever. And I don't think I've ever felt comfortable around anyone to kind of let all, because that's like the kid in me. And I grew up watching Bruce Lee and Kung Fu movies as a kid. And so I felt like you had that connection with that. So that made that a special filming experience for me. So I really appreciate it.
That's in case Amazon, Hulu, or Netflix are watching. You can make this guy an action star. There ain't nothing wrong with it. He can do it.
Yeah.
But and then there's also the time where, and this is one of the things that I'm proud of, is that you know, I had an idea literally for a long time. When we used to do the 48, we had these sort of one sentence concepts for if we had a specific genre. So for example, under sci-fi, we didn't really have an idea of like what we would do if we ever got sci-fi as a genre, but we just had this thought. Me and Brian would sit down and we would talk about it. Well, what do we do if we had sci-fi? And I was like, well, what if there's just these aliens that are trying to take over Earth, but we're going to be safe, you know, as long as we don't have sex with them, because that's the only way they can sort of transmit this disease to us. And it's sort of, and when Ty was closing down the studio, he's like, hey, I'll give you a couple of dates that you can come film in here. And I was like, oh, I want to do the don't have sex with well, actually, it just said don't fuck the aliens.
Okay.
That was it. That was the entire thing. It said don't fuck the aliens, and that was my idea. And I said, I have this idea, and I'm just going to reach out to every actor that I know. And only one actor, I was like, Merrick, I want you to play the president. You're like, okay. Only out of every actor that agreed in that movie, only one of them wanted to see the script ahead of time before they agreed to do it. And I remember my one note to you was, what if Frank Drebin was
Frank Drebin?
And then you're like, I got it. So here's a little clip from Alien Story.
Okay.
At this very moment,
Wait.
my fellow Earthlings, I apologize for interrupting the season finale of High Stakes. Spoiler alert, Benji dies at the end of the softball game. Today, our top military minds have uncovered a nefarious alien plan to take over our planet. The manifesto is apparently titled District Plan 9 from Outer Space. All right, I'm being told that was actually an intern who wrote that on top as a joke. Good one. Secretary of Defense Ellen Ashburn is here to explain further. Ellen?
The alien plan is simple. They have sent a large group of female aliens here to copulate with our male population, and by mixing alien and human fluids, render them sterile.
It is too soon to tell what percentage of women are actually aliens sent here to destroy men, but it could be all of them. Am I right?
The sterilization of our male population will lead to the systematic elimination of our species as the aliens wait us out. This will take 30 to 40 years, but due to time relativity, only months will pass on their home planet.
I just want to clarify my previous point. It is too soon to tell whether all women on Earth are aliens sent here to destroy us, especially not my beautiful wife. So, not all aliens are sluts, but all sluts are aliens? Is that better?
Wow.
My favorite part of that is the scroll where Ty put in the president's wife is not a slut. And you doing the Obama Frank Drebin hybrid.
Yes, that's what it was. It was Obama Frank. That was a lot of fun to work with Laura, who was brilliantly funny herself. Wow. Yeah, I remember the screening for this too. Finally seeing it, the audience just rolling laughing at this. movie, and it was the best thing. Was it the private screening that night for just that? Or was there other stuff?
It was Night of a Thousand Burritos. We did Alien Story. We had Shelley had a movie. A bunch of the other people had shorts. I think Girl and Burden we had on there that you were also in. I think. So yeah, it was a couple of different things, but yeah, that was just a little trip down memory lane. But anybody who saw that movie can remember, and this is, I think, my favorite part of this, which was the transition from you, from you going to like peacetime president to wartime president. So let me play this.
My fellow Earthlings, at this very moment, we're prepping to launch a massive Avatar-style attack on their home planet. Once, we find it. But when we do, we're bringing nukes and bullets and America. And the Secretary of Defense and I are heading up to space to fight these alien fuckers ourselves.
We are?
Yeah.
I mean, we are. Eventually. We have to build the rocket first, right?
Oh, I know what I'm doing. Get some! America, get some!
Right! Intergalactic! Oh, you think I'm passive aggressive? Because I'm holding a gun in your face?
My favorite part of that whole thing is when Laura's busting off caps and she's like, intergalactic! And I was just like, all right, let's not bring the Beastie Boys into it, but...
Oh, there's so much humor, so much. Yeah, this is funny because these things I have with you, and in the network TV world, they see me as a straight guy, as the,
right.
Yeah. They don't know anything about this.
They don't.
So I
mean, I'm sure that, Hulu or Amazon or somebody's going to be watching this replay and they'll be like,
yes.
Merrick as the president.
It's funny because I have one of my recent auditions, and I'm going to self-tape for is for an untitled superhero project where I play a detective. So yeah, I need to get some other imagery out there, I think, by this time. I think I've got the detective thing pretty down.
And then obviously the main project that me and you worked with, which was Blacklisted, myself and CG Thomas, Chris Thomas created this. And at the time when we were creating it from scratch, you were the only person that I thought of to play the evil villain, because I figured, you were probably the most talented actor that we had on that project. We had 130 something San Diego actors on it that we made SAG eligible. It's a feature. It's still an intellectual property for us in terms of that, the film itself didn't work as a whole, but the individual scenes itself were well. It's just that it was my first time that I, like, for example, the scene that we're going to see, it's a warehouse scene. And it was the first time that I was stepping on set where I had to deal with 40 actors, and that is.
You have like the 5 families there, right?
Yeah. This was
the 5 boroughs.
We had the 5 families. It was basically you at the end of Godfather 1. Taking care of business. So I have a couple of clips from that scene that I wanted to share and get your thoughts on.
Okay.
Give me a second here. Let's make sure we start at the right time.
I believe in a unified front with mixed crews across all your areas. Mixed in race and gender. That means one collaborative buy for everybody. Now, I trust that you've all done your homework on me.
Mr. X is about unity.
Wow.
Mixed crews, right? But this is the one that gives me chills right here, Merrick.
I know what you're trying to do, but for us, that's a no-go. We've been beefing with the Mexicans, Colombians, and Italians for years now. Once in a while, we can do business. Then it's right back to war. And as for the territories you're asking us to give up, we can't do it.
You're nobody, man. We take orders from the other side of the border. So what are you gonna do, huh? You think you're gonna take over this city in one night? Fuck that shit, bro.
Mr. Martinez, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking over. The minute I decided it, this became my city.
Motherfuckers, my city. King Kong ain't got shit on me.
Yeah, it's funny because I think maybe we did a couple takes of that, and that just came out. I don't know where it came from. I don't know.
I don't know, man. That was that. I don't. The reason I picked that is because
that way.
I don't see. Like I said, you're the detective, the doctor, the serious man, the football coach, whatever. I don't see enough of you in these against type positions. So I wanted to kind of emphasize that you do have those chops for other things.
And I really appreciate that. I really that does get me thinking.
All right, there's one more. There's one more here where we have another powerful line that I like here.
Okay.
Look at him. Look at him.
I just like. I don't know. I like that, man. I like how you were challenging that range. I think my notes to you was like, man, it's like a Gustavo Fringe type character, but he's like, that was basically what I was basing him off, and you can tell I didn't do a lot, obviously it was my first feature, so I'm cognizant of the mistakes that I make, but casting you and giving you that part was not one of them.
Yeah, it's one thing too, because that scene when you did that. I think I came late. That was, I think, a light that came late, and I didn't know any of those actors really. I don't think I knew hardly any of those people there, and they didn't know me. I don't think. So I think you're getting their reaction. It probably kind of scared them because they didn't know me at all, and I'm just crazy. So you got a lot of really good shots with really authentic stuff there. So that was brilliant casting, brilliant filmmaking on your part for sure.
I think that what I tried, because what happened is we had the overall concept of what the arc of the story was, but since it was such an independent project, we're shooting it as we go. We're waiting for locations to be approved. It's like, okay, we have a scene in 2 weeks. What scene is this? This is the one with Mr. X. This is the flashback where we show how Mr. X took over the city, and so I would write the scene kind of on the spot. The entirety of the project wasn't written before we started filming. I was sort of writing scenes on the go. That's why I think the individual scenes are stronger than the overall project because, so I'm glad that it got to showcase a lot of people. Like I said, we made 130 something actors SAG eligible because it was an ultra low budget project. So I'm very proud of the fact that we were able to create a feature, but I do look back at that and I'm like, this is good, but I could have, if I would have known today what I know now, but I can't really,
And I feel the same about my performance on it. It's not going to be. I feel like I could have done this or that, but it's just, you let it be what it is.
Hey, well, like I said, if Amazon is watching, hey, we can remake this.
We'll do it again.
We can remake it tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Don't trip, Amazon. We got that. I still got the script. I already know the storyline. Don't trip. It's an IP for Burrito. You can cast Merrick against type on a. He's already been on Netflix. He's already Netflix approved. He's already like Brooklyn Nine-Nine approved. What the fuck are we waiting for? Let's give this guy a leading role. Let him play a bad guy. Merrick, I have a bit that I do with all my guests, which is a rapid fire round, and then we're gonna get into a bracket where I'm gonna get you to pick one or the other on these things, and that's how we're gonna wrap this up. All right?
Yeah, good.
All right. Have you been asked to work on any vertically shot videos or shows?
Vertically shot?
Yeah, shows and things that are sort of shot in a way that's specifically for vertical video.
No, I have not.
All right, good. That was just a question that I had. Are you on TikTok?
Am I on TikTok? I am not on TikTok.
Okay. Have you been advised to be on TikTok?
Yes, Peggy advises me to get on TikTok. She's on TikTok. She's a killer on TikTok. I'm not.
Have you been on a new COVID regulated film set yet?
Yes, I have.
What was that like?
It was regulated. It was So the thing is, they have a protocol set up for you to take the test days before, and then they rapid test the day of. You get there, they take you directly to your trailer. You don't leave that trailer until it's time to get on set and film. No meandering around the lot or area, no going to Crafty just for random finger snacks, none of that stuff. Your food is brought to you in a prepackaged meal situation. When you're transported by Transpo, only 2 passengers per vehicle are allowed. So it's the driver, you, and maybe one of the passengers max. Mask at all times outside of your trailer. When you get to set, masks are on until it's time for them to yell action, and then it goes back on after.
What about makeup?
Hair and makeup on that particular set, they do have hair and makeup when you go to the hair and makeup trailer, which has been like battened down as far as, you know, keeping it super clean. Everything's got a covered lid on it. You get your hair and makeup done, then you leave to go to set. There's no hair and makeup person on set to give you touch-ups.
No last looks.
No last looks. Well, they give you a little mini pack so that you can potentially touch yourself up. And me not knowing how to apply makeup, I'm like, I don't know how it's going to work, but all right, I'll take it. I don't know what else to do. But yeah, that's how it was. So they had it so that no hair and makeup were allowed on set, I guess, to minimize the amount of persons in the filming area. That's like, well, hair and makeup somehow is not a necessity to have on set, so they stick in their trailer area.
I talked to Shelly, who did a music video and recently, and she said that it added maybe 10 to 15% to their total budget, just because you really have to make tough decisions about whether you really need an extra production assistant if the space that you're shooting in doesn't allow for it. And also that that she felt like everybody needed to cater to the talent, because since the talent can't act with a mask on unless they've written that into the script, that basically it's on everybody else to sort of keep themselves safe, to sort of treat the talent with kid gloves, realizing that they're the ones that can be the protected the least. Did you kind of feel like people were sort of doing that for you?
I did feel like everyone was really kind of making sure that we were distanced, that we were masked, that we were not put in any risk. I did 2 projects recently. One was on a major network studio lot, and the other was an independent series. And in both cases, they did treat the actors, you know, very safely. The entire crew was masked the entire time in both cases. So, yeah. The only sketchy part is when you're acting with more than one person in the shot. You have to take that mask off for those few minutes to act. That was the only extra part. There was no real system for how to work that out. You know,
Go ahead.
Well, I'm in a scene with 3 or 4 other people or so in this tight scene, and we all have to take our masks off to act. And they have cut, and I'm trying to put it back on, and some people are not, and so it's like there was no real enforcement of how to handle what happens when you yell action, I think.
Other than Peggy getting mad at you, would you not want to do a love scene right now because of COVID?
It would, yeah. That would be. I don't know how I would do that at this point. I don't think.
I think we had, from what I heard, the 2 actors that were in the music video had to they had an intimacy coach or something because they were going to do a love scene. But on top of that, which is that's also a new normal on sets, they had to figure out whether these people were going to quarantine before or after. If you have to go back to another significant other after you've acted with somebody, does that mean you have to go quarantine for 2 weeks afterwards? Does that mean you can only do love scenes with people that you already have a physical relationship with? I mean, does that mean they're casting more couples now, right?
Yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, Peggy and I have talked about the love scenes. We've worked it out. We make jokes here and there when we see one that's really heavy.
Right.
They're going at it. And I said, honey, no, they got a partition between them, honey. There's nothing happening. I don't think, because, in soap operas, they're doing their significant others on the reverse shot. So they got the over the shoulders, their significant other, and the actor, and they turn that significant other is the over the shoulder. So it's kind of this, they're trying to work it out. And it looks silly. Their wigs, obviously, you can tell it's not the actual person they're talking to. They're trying to do this tricky reverse shot thing with that. But yeah, I don't think anyone's going to be doing a love scene for a little bit. I don't think it would be safe for me. I mean, unless it's a Tyler Perry thing, which he's quarantining everybody anyway.
You're like, don't worry. Between the merkin and the cocksock, there's a sheet of plastic between the two. The cocksock and the merkin never touch. It's all very It's all very, very sanitary. What's on the Merrick McCartha rider? Coke or Pepsi?
On the what?
On the Merrick McCartha rider for when you get the set. What needs to be in your trailer?
I don't have a rider for my. I really don't. I like to have nice place to lay down. There's always a couch or something for me to chill on. Desk. A mini fridge is nice. I'll bring my own stuff. I might bring like a Gatorade or something.
Okay, keep it simple.
Yeah, no green or anything like that.
All right, and then bringing it back finally to the bracket bit, Merrick, you've been very nice to stay on this long for me. I appreciate you, my brother, as a friend, as a collaborator, as a mentor in the industry as well. And I hope that once all this is said and done, we get a chance to work together again on something major.
Yeah.
And I will will that into existence. But my bracket bit for you was all about the home state of Michigan. And what I did was I did my research and I tried to write down like the top 16 sort of Michigan icons. And it's really sort of impossible to do that because once I really started looking into it, how are you going to, choose between like Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, Betty Shabazz, Edsel Ford, Sonny Bono, fucking George Custer is from Michigan. So a lot of these people, Ernie Hudson, Judy Greer, Glenn Fry, the P-Funk All-Stars, Steve Ballmer, John DeLorean, Jay Dilla, hip-hop producer. So I did narrow it down to a few of them. So just because an icon is not on the list doesn't mean that I didn't consider it. I just wanted to narrow it down because I didn't want us to be here all night, even though, spoiler alert, we were here all night. So here it is, the Merrick McCartha Michigan All-Stars bracket. I'm going to give you two famous Michiganders. Is that how you say it?
Yes, Michiganders, yes.
And you tell me, and these are people that either are from Michigan, represent Michigan in popular culture, or maybe just stop by Michigan once in a while. All right, but here's the first pick. The 1980s Pistons Bad Boys or Madonna?
Oh, the 1980s Pistons Bad Boys.
Bad Boys moving on. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Ed McMahon, co-host of The Tonight Show for many years, or famous Detroit baseball player and confirmed racist, Ty Cobb.
It's Ed McMahon.
All right, Ed moves on. All right.
Yes.
Rock star Alice Cooper or Detroit's own Eminem?
Well, it's going to be Eminem. I mean, Alice Cooper had his day when I was younger. I mean, he was the for a while, but Eminem is now reached the pinnacle status, I think.
All right, and famous movie producer Jerry Bruckheimer, also a Michigander, or I don't know what you're driving these days, but Henry Ford.
Henry Ford was kind of racist.
The whole
Bruckheimer.
All right, I think I could have answered some of these myself, especially with that the whole bloodlines thing at the Michigan plant when you do that. All right, I put this guy on here just because you were on an episode of Get Shorty, and that would be Elmore Leonard, the writer from Michigan, and from the Dream Team and the Lakers, Irving Magic Johnson.
Because he went to Michigan. Yeah. It's Magic. It's
Magic? All right.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And I put this guy on because he's my favorite music producer, Jay Dilla, but he's going up against a monster here in Diana Ross.
Well, we went to the same high school. We were in the same class, but Diana Ross is still going to be up there. Sorry.
All right. And from the boxing world, Joe Louis versus Marvin Gaye.
Ooh, that's a tough choice.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Wow. Marvin Gaye is a legendary music figure, but I think nothing in Detroit, in the heart of downtown, to have this giant fist pointing at you like this. That's the Joe Louis fist. So I'm going to go with Joe Louis because Joe Louis represents Detroit in a sense of perseverance.
All right, and the last matchup on the first round is not easier. Aretha Franklin or Stevie Wonder.
Oh, come on!
That could be the final right there. That could be the final right there, Merrick.
Well, I'm going to go with Aretha because she is one of my mom's favorite singers. Even though Stevie Wonder is one of the more brilliant musicians ever. But Aretha Franklin.
All right, moving on to the second round, we got the Bad Boys of the Pistons versus Ed McMahon.
We're going to take the Bad Boys.
All right, and we have Eminem versus Jerry Bruckheimer.
Ooh. Let's go with Eminem.
Eminem, 8 Mile. Diana Ross versus Magic Johnson.
For me, Diana Ross has a bigger impact.
And Joe Louis and Aretha.
Wow, really? Is that how it's going to be?
Yeah, that's how it's going to be. Right. A bracket bid is not meant to be easy, Merrick.
No, I would say Aretha Franklin.
All right, Joe Louis is coming after you. And now the semifinals here, it's going to be the Bad Boys Pistons versus Eminem.
The Bad Boys Pistons.
And Diana versus Aretha.
I should have known it was coming to this, huh?
Yeah.
I would say figuratively pound for pound Aretha Franklin.
And she takes out the Bad Boys, I would assume.
No.
The Bad Boys versus Aretha. That's the final.
Really? That's the final?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aretha versus Stevie could have been the final, but like I said,
yeah.
But like I said, we could have put Rosa Parks in there, and who are you going to pick against Rosa Parks in a bracket? It would have been unfair. So there's people that we couldn't put in there.
I only because I think Aretha brings so much more warmth to the soul. Bad Boys bring out just a lot of pride and aggro angst.
I didn't even put Barry Sanders in there. We didn't have enough spaces, but that's another guy that you could put in there. Maybe I could have put him in instead of the racist type guy. I could have done that possibly. But anyway, Aretha Franklin is the winner.
Yes, Aretha Franklin wins Detroit. Good. I'm happy.
That is a solid choice, Derek. Once again, man, I appreciate you coming on. I think we touched on a lot of topics that are interesting because of current events and also that are interesting to actors coming up. You're a great example of somebody, like I said, I'm happy that I got to work with you in a hotel room with me, you, Brian, Elba shooting a scene like one of the first times that I really got a chance to work, on a serious project before. So to see you go from there to, being able to just randomly see you on TV like at different times, it sort of validates us a little bit just because I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not that far away, but it also makes me happy to know you as a person and to sort of be able to say that I'm a small part of your career.
Absolutely, man. And I'm very proud of our work we've done together. So
right.
I appreciate you because you're one of the only filmmakers to bring out these non-typical archetypal roles that I've been getting cast in. I've done this work with you, so that's
there you go, Netflix. You can make them a detective again, or you could branch out. You say you're looking for these Latinx voices. Here we are. Let me direct some shit and put Merrick in it. But thank you very much for coming on the new show. Thank you for your patience. I know we had to reschedule this because there's just a lot of stuff's been happening, obviously, so it's kind of hard. But I did want us to sit down. I wish you nothing but the best moving forward, many more parts, and obviously growth in your film career. And I'm sure we will be watching you as we go.
Absolutely. And please send me clips of Zombie Killer and Alien Story, please.
Right, absolutely. Right after you make the intro with A. Martinez. Okay,
I'll be happy to do that. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and this is a great program you got. And I'm always gunning for you, and I'm looking forward to working with you again. So let me know.
Cool. And if you want to barge in on Jose tomorrow, just send me a message or send you a link. That way you can just come in.
All right.
You can come in and say hi for 2 seconds if you want. That's fine.
Absolutely. And send me a link to the program again too, so I'll know.
All right, cool. Well, thank you everybody for watching. This has been another Fireside Chat with Big Chief Burrito, Merrick McCartha. You can see him pretty much anywhere on your TV show. Catch him on All American, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, This Is Us. He was in my movie Blacklisted. He was in my movie Alien Story. He was in another project we won't talk about. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff. The project that shall not be mentioned. I thank everybody for watching. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Make sure that you like the stream. Make sure you sub so that you know next time you're live, Merrick can come back on anytime he wants. And this is Big Chief Burrito. I'm out. Thank you, Merrick.
Hey, thank you.
Take it easy, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
You too.
Guys, thank you very much for being with us tonight. Merrick is somebody that's definitely somebody that I've worked with a long time, that's very talented. So it's obviously an honor to have him with us today. So I'm just going to find the bye-bye clip, and I will tell you guys, thanks for watching. Life's better if you stay out of the comment section. We'll try better next time. And I'll be on live tomorrow at the same time with Jose Yenke, another talented Latino actor. He's been on everything from Traffic to It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia to Law and Order to Chicago Hope, ER back in the day. So I'm going to have another conversation with him about acting and about his Arts for a Better Tomorrow organization as well. So everybody have a good rest of your evening. See you tomorrow night at 8. Peace.